that's such a shame because I think if more people saw that movie, they'd be like, "Wow, this movie was awesome," you know?
Yeah, for real.
I saw some post the other day saying how like, "Oh, Belle is an awful movie. I don't know why anybody watched that." And I was like, "Bro, did we watch the same movie?"
You're entitled to your own opinion, but your opinion's just wrong.
Exactly.
Oh my God. It is the SuperClash podcast, a podcast about shorter games. It is episode 59. I am your host, Kale.
Good morning.
You're about 12 hours too late there, man.
That's not necessarily true. We release this in the morning, and people probably listen to it when it comes out in the morning.
Okay, fair enough. I am your host. Wait.
You already did that.
Fuck, dude. Say your name.
Okay, I'm Connor. Fine.
And how was your week, Connor?
It was okay. Yeah.
All right, cool. I kind of had a little bit of a rough week, just kind of a rough mental state. Just in general, it's been very hard to like sleep. It's been kind of hard to work and play games, and just kind of like I don't know, man. It's like it's one of those weird things to where like I get unjustifiably angry over little things.
That's fair.
And it's just, but
I can see why you would. You know, the state of the world and everything.
Right,
but,
right.
Really, though, what should be keeping you up at night is the fact that you suck at games.
I do. I suck at games.
I don't know where I was gonna go with it, but I just landed on that one.
I'm not even gonna deny it. I'm generally pretty bad at video games. The only game I could say I'm decent at is probably Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
How do you think you were at the game we're going to talk about today?
I thought I was pretty good.
Okay.
I just didn't get a chance to finish because of said mental state.
What chapter did you get to out of curiosity?
Maybe chapter 3.
3?
So not far at all. Yeah. But I do have a kind of a funny story here that will kind of transition into some of the things we're going to talk about before we dive into the meat of the episode. At my work, we get what's called a transfer. And what a transfer is, it's very simple, is we have multiple warehouses in the state of the Missouri. And a transfer is simply when we ask for one product to go from one warehouse to the other. So if we're out of a certain beer or liquor, we would call one of the other warehouses in the state, and they would load it in a truck and bring it to us.
Okay.
And the guy that delivers the transfer, I don't know if he's new or something, but he always takes a really, really, really long time to back into our parking lot, or at least the loading dock. And he'll go in forward and then try to jackknife it, turn around in a tiny ass parking lot, and then back in.
Okay.
And if he's new, I can understand there's probably two schools of thoughts here. One, I can see him like, I don't know, the company that he works for saying, just give him this route. It's fairly difficult. Let's just have him dive in and he'll learn. It's kind of like if you want to teach your kid to swim, just throw him in the deep end, you know?
Okay.
And there's also another school of thought is he's new, so let's kind of give him an easy route to kind of ease him into it. I'm generally the latter for that.
Yeah.
And so I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for the guy taking an hour and a half to back into a loading dock. But I couldn't help but just kind of sit there and watch him and just say to myself, you know what? I played some SnowRunners. I think I can do this.
Oh, no.
And kind of funny because we actually played some SnowRunners this week.
Yeah. What did you think, by the way?
It's like, okay, I've played this game before. I played it on my own. I played a little bit with you and David. It was very difficult starting out because some of the tasks that you guys had me do, I was not equipped for, and it was very frustrating until I realized that I could just sell my DLC truck. I got $100,000, and I got a mid-tier truck that has differential lock and all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got that, it was smooth sailing from there. I could basically do anything I wanted with it. And once you get that and understand the mechanics, it is surprisingly super fun.
Yeah.
I never would have thought that a game called SnowRunners, where you drive a big rig, would be as much fun as it is.
Yeah, you just haul freight.
It's like, and it's such a chill game too. It's difficult, but it's such a chill game too.
Yeah. There's some frustrating moments in it for sure.
And what's cool too is that it got a PS5 upgrade, so it's 4K 60.
Yeah. I really want to get like a team of 4 going in this game, because I feel like, honestly, if you could get a team of 4 going and you just went off in doubles to handle things, like all the irritation of, oh shit, I tipped my truck, or oh, I'm stuck somewhere, it kind of goes by the wayside, because when it was just David and I playing the game, we would go off in doubles. And so, I would be following him or he'd be following me, but we'd both, usually, I think in the early levels, they wanted like 2 of everything. So it was like, oh, well, I'll grab one, you grab one, we'll follow each other. If one of us gets stuck or gets tipped, we'll help the other one out and keep going. And I think if we could get 4 people, that would be awesome to do. Send you off with one of us, and then David off with another person, and then kind of achieve more in the game faster. Because I think, honestly, if you tried to play this game by yourself, it would take so much longer to do.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot just getting from point A to point B in that game.
We need to find someone that has the patience for this game. This is a hurry up and wait game.
Yes.
So, but it's such an enjoyable game, and I really kind of hope that the developers kind of come out with some kind of sequel.
They've been pushing out DLC for this left and right.
Yeah, and there is no reason a game like this should look as beautiful as it does.
It's a good-looking game.
It is such a good-looking game. This is like maybe from a AA studio.
Yeah, and this is I want to say their second game in this series, because the first one I think was called Spin Tires Mud Runner.
Yeah, I think it was, Mud Runners.
And I have that one on Switch, because I picked it up after I played SnowRunner. I was like, this is awesome. I also have SnowRunner on Switch, too. I'm curious to try it on there.
Yeah, man.
But it's a fun game. I recommend it to... Actually, you know what? I can't say that. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. I think...
It's not for everybody.
If you have patience and you understand that the game has fairly difficult controls that take a little bit to get the hang of, you'll have a good time with it. If you're a very impatient person who gets easily bored by things, avoid it, because it probably won't be for you.
So we also watched some TV shows and some movies, or at least you watched some movies. One of them, we'll actually talk about Stranger Things before we move into the game. That way we can kind of you can turn it off afterward. So Connor, go ahead and talk about your movies. What's Warning Do Not Play?
A very confusing movie. I thought it was a Korean found footage movie. Instead, it is a Korean horror movie about a found footage movie.
That's a little confusing.
It gets worse.
So you didn't like this movie?
I thought there were good elements to it, though I think the story was a little too convoluted for its own good.
Okay.
The whole premise of the story revolves around an indie movie creator, and she had made a horror movie many years ago that was fairly popular, and now I think it's implied that maybe she hasn't made a movie in a while, and the person who is working with her to get the movie made is kind of putting some pressure on her, saying this is your last chance to get a movie made. We need a script, all this stuff. And so she hears about this story about a found footage horror film that was made by students at this college that was so scary they had to like remove it from showings, and they only had one showing of it. And so she's obviously intrigued by that and begins trying to figure out who made this film. And in her searches, she finds out that the movie was never actually shown to the audiences, but it was saved on a drive at the college in question. And so she talks to a friend there, and she kind of sneaks onto his computer and steals the files, but they are corrupted. And so she's like trying to like repair the files and stuff, but they're not really loading. In the meantime, she goes online and she posts about this film, this urban legend, so to speak. And she gets a phone call from someone saying, hey, or it was a phone call or an email, it doesn't matter, but they reach out and they're like, hey, take this post down now. And she's like, I'm not going to do that unless you meet with me in person. And so she meets the person and finds the person who created this film, and he's like on edge and crazy, and he doesn't want to tell her anything about it, and he's like, just forget about this film, delete it, go on your way, and even gets a little aggressive towards her. And so her, being dumb, follows him back to his house and tries to get more information on it. Events occur, yada, yada, yada. She eventually decides to go to the abandoned theater where this found footage movie was filmed. And while she is there, simultaneously, the person who was working on the film with her, I don't know if it's her boyfriend, her producer, or something. They don't really establish that relationship, I don't think. But he comes back to her apartment, and the file has uncorrupted. And he watches it. And he sees like all of these people in this cast and crew getting horribly murdered by things they can't see. And she gets to this building and basically has to witness all of that original cast and crew getting killed in front of her. And then the guy who recorded the film shows up there, and he like accuses her. He's like, oh, I knew you were the ghost all along, and blah, 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 and like ties her up and is going to like,
Jesus Christ,
basically burn her alive, it seems like. And then he's brutally murdered by this ghost thing. She escapes, but then the ghost starts attacking her. And for some reason, this whole time, she's like trying to like take pictures and record this thing that's happening. And she escapes, and she's horribly wounded, and finds out that this producer or boyfriend or whomever goes into this building, and she hears him on the phone dying while he's looking for her. And then she makes a film based off of all of this and plays it in front of a group of people.
Wow, what an asshole.
Yeah. So it's a film inside a film inside a film? Yeah, it was weird, dude. It was. I would not recommend it. It's just weird.
Okay, sweet. One more. Then we have something we can both talk about. Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight.
Okay, yeah. This one I'm a little bit more loose on because I was playing Civ while doing this, and this is a foreign film. It's a Polish film, so I was watching and reading subtitles and playing a game at the same time.
Were you playing Poland?
I was not Poland. I was Russia.
You bastard.
It's okay. Trey was China, and our ally was Korea, but we called them North Korea, and we were against all of the NATO countries. If it makes you feel better.
Oh my God.
Horrible things happened to us in this game. Like, we didn't have Raging Barbarians turned on, but they were literally spawning barbarians every single round around our place. We were losing, like, the other civilizations were doing, they had 3 times the score that we did because we couldn't do anything. We were just constantly hit by barbarians every turn. So, you know what? There was some sort of karmic justice going on for that decision.
Okay, I didn't mean to derail you.
It's all right.
Continue. Polish film.
Yes, it's Polish film. No One Sleeps in the Woods at Night, I believe is what it's called. And then there's a second film actually on Netflix too, in the series. So this movie takes place at a camp for young adults, teens. I'm not really sure what they're supposed to be, who are like super addicted to like technology and social media. So they take their phones, their computers, all their technology away, and they make them go out camping. And then while they're in the woods, they slowly start getting killed off. And you find out that the thing that is killing them is these 2 giant, grotesque men with boils all over their body and what is like apparent super strength. And they're also cannibals. And the whole reason they're like this is because, I guess, way back in the day, there was this mom and her 2 twin sons, and a meteor crashed, and the kids took the meteor and put it underneath their bed, and it, like, turned them into these horrible, boily monsters. And so the mom, like, traps these boys in the basement and is, like, feeding them, like, wild boar and stuff like that down there. And then one day they grab her and pull her into the basement and kill her. And that's when they get free and they start killing all these people. And the story centers around mostly these different teenagers. And there's like this one main girl whose family died in like a horrific car crash. And she becomes like the lone survivor of this situation and eventually escapes. There's not a whole lot to say about this movie in general. It's kind of hokey, and you kind of question how these giant 400-pound dudes are sneaking up on people and killing them. And then I question why all of the characters make the decision to hide when these creatures are around, because I can't imagine they could run very fast.
Right.
They're like giant roly-poly men. And I think, honestly, if you just ran in one direction away from them, you would leave them so far in the distance, it would not even be funny. Like, I was just like thinking of these characters, because they're like trying to get in there to the house where these creatures are to steal back a cell phone to call for help. And I'm just like, just pick a direction and run in it. You're young teens, you know, honestly, you're probably healthy enough to eventually find a road. You know?
You're not like us who are old and out of shape.
Even if it takes you days, imagine you running straight for, you know, as long as you can, or even walking. You're probably still moving faster than these things, and they're either going to lose interest or they're going to be so far behind you that they're never going to catch up. You know?
And if at night you're scared, climb a fucking tree.
Yeah.
Unless they're super strong and knock over a tree, but...
They seem fairly strong, but not like maybe knock over a tree strong. Like, lift a person up by their body kind of strong.
Okay.
Like, you know.
But...
It's weird. I'm probably going to watch the second one.
Okay. Maybe the second one's better.
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah. Okay. So I finished up an anime, and it's an anime that you finished as well. My Dress Up Darling. I talked about this last episode, I believe, and I finally finished it, and oh my god, it is so wholesome. I want to fucking die.
It's so cute, isn't it?
It is. And I really, really hoping that we'll get an announcement of a release date of season 2. I want to see where this goes because the whole first season is centered around just a single summer vacation.
Yeah.
And I love just how everything is so wholesome, and you think that there's going to be a conflict, but no, it gets resolved pretty easily, and I don't mean to overuse this word, wholesomely. Because I am so used I'm so used to American tropes to where like there needs to be some kind of convoluted conflict that needs to be about the entire episode. Like, just like when the character Juju gets involved, and Juju is really impressed by Gojo, at least in the sub, like, when Gojo was talking about Juju, you kind of saw, like, Kitagawa's face kind of change a little bit, and I was thinking, don't make this a love triangle. For the love of God, don't make this a love triangle. It never does. They get over it and they enjoy their cosplay shoot. It's great.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think I like Slice of Life so much, is because it's just complete, just wholesomeness. Like, if you're having a bad day, turn on a Slice of Life.
Yes. That's the one thing I don't really understand, how some people can only watch like action anime, because like a good wholesome slice of life anime is like the perfect medicine for a bad day.
It really is.
You know?
And that, honestly, this week with my mental state being so bad, Dress Up Darling got me through my week. It really, really did. One little disappointment though, and this has nothing to do with the anime in particular. I've said on the show several times, I'm a scrub and I watch the dub. It came to my attention literally before we recorded this episode that they kind of changed Kitagawa's personality a little bit. In the dub. There's a scene to where Kitagawa admits to herself that she's in love with Gojo. In the sub, she's like, "Oh my gosh, he's so cute. I love him. And in the dub, however, there's almost like an internal conflict with Kitagawa, which is like, I can't be falling in love with the cute little seamstress who's BFFs with his grandfather. It's like
kind of judgy.
It's super judgy when they established her character to have no judgment. She's nice to everybody, and it's just that one moment. I'm interested in watching the sub to see if there's any other elements of that, but once that came to my attention, it kind of caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah, it happened because you were showing me the dub, because I've only ever watched the sub.
Yeah.
And I immediately picked up and was like, that's not what happens. Like, that's not her character. And it doesn't fit her character, does it?
No, it doesn't. And like I said, it has nothing to do with the anime in particular. It's not the anime's fault. I won't even go so far to blame the voice actor's fault.
It could be like a localization.
Could be a localization. But I really do think with the translators, I really think they could have gotten across the original sub message in the appropriate lip flaps, because she doesn't even move her lips in that. It's all internal
monologue. Yeah.
So I don't know why they went that direction. That's a very weird choice.
Yeah, it betrays her character.
It betrays her character completely, and it's that never gets brought up again to where she's questioning herself. That's the only time where she questions herself, and all the other episodes after, she's accepted it.
Yeah.
So very, very weird.
Yeah, you can tell that like does not fit with the rest of the
exactly
series.
But for the love of God, guys, if you haven't watched My Dress Up Darling, watch it. Watch it. It's just, you get fuzzy feelings inside.
You wouldn't think like. So if you try to explain this anime to someone who has never seen it, it's about a girl who likes to cosplay, who becomes friends with another guy who works making dolls.
And
if you said that alone to somebody, they're like, that sounds like something I wouldn't want to watch.
yeah, but honestly, this is something I found out too, is you actually learn a lot about cosplay in this, and like the community of cosplaying. And there was a scene where Kitagawa was saying she couldn't find fangs except like werewolf's teeth, and Gojo's like, oh, I did some research. Here, you just use fake nails that I painted white. And Lily turned to me and said, yeah, people actually do that in real life.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's real world stuff in this anime that you can kind of take if you want to get into cosplay yourself. So very good, very cool. I would scream if
Did you watch the, like, I think it's like a post-credits scene in the last episode
I think so.
where she confesses to him, basically?
Oh, yes, where like she was calling him saying she can't sleep. It's been a great summer, and she was basically saying, well, you can talk to me until you fall asleep. It's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gojo falls asleep, and the shot changes to an overhead, a split screen, to where it looks like they're like right next to each other, but they're in completely different areas. And Kitagawa says, Gojo, I love you. Cut to black.
Oh, it was like, it gives me like the good chills.
Me
like
too,
the,
dude.
oh,
Oh
so
my God.
good.
Oh,
I'm gushing over
me
it.
Me too. Oh my God, this is so fucking good.
Yes. You just want to see them get together. You're like, yes, become a couple.
And what made this so good is that it was established that, this is my last point before we move on, I'm sorry. It was established that Gojo never got out. He was always a very timid person because he was criticized as a kid for liking Hina dolls and loving the craft of the Hina doll.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, he took this one isolated moment and applied it to everyone in his life except for his grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Kitagawa, who's just nice to everybody, who's full of life, and Gojo starts coming out of his shell a little bit. He starts laughing. He starts supporting her a lot more. He becomes invested in cosplay. And it was so cool seeing him come out of his shell.
And simultaneously, I feel like Kitagawa learns more, because she was very bad at making cosplay. She's learning more from Gojo this whole time. And she also kind of develops this like respect for those who are really good at making those things. And like, I think one of the reasons she likes him so hard likes him so much is because he's such a hard worker, and he like is so like, you know, when he commits to doing something, he follows through with it. And I think that shocks her the first time she realizes how much effort he puts in. And so for me, like, the best couples in anime are the ones that just complement each other so well.
Exactly.
Like, I am 100% against the ships in anime where the characters fight the entire time and they never have any character growth other than we fight and, oh, I guess we like each other at the end.
Like Taiga and Ryuji?
Yeah, they complement each other, though. They fought, but they complement each other. There's other anime.
That's what I was saying, is like, yeah, they fought, they argued.
Yeah.
But they complemented each other.
Yeah.
And Kagi, the too many K's here. Shirogane and Kaguya.
Yeah.
Super complement each
From
other.
Kaguya-sama Love is War, yeah.
Oh my God.
It's rom-com animes, the bomb diggity, dude.
Yeah. So, okay. Last thing before we move on to the game and let's get physical. Stranger Things Season 4. We're going to spoil a few major plot points of the second part of Season 4. So you have a chance to, you turn it off now, or, I don't know, skip, 5 minutes or so. So, what'd you think of Stranger Things Season 4?
The entire season or just the last couple episodes?
Let's go ahead and just do the entire season.
I thought this season was a little bit shocking in how how intense it started to get, and I feel like it's only winding up to get even more intense. I loved the new characters they introduced for the most part, and I'm kind of bummed that some of those characters don't get to carry forward. And I think some of the subjects that they go over are kind of a little on the nose, but maybe in a good way.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I can't remember who Jonathan's best friend was. Was his name Dusty?
Oh gosh, what is his name?
The stoner?
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh my god. Now it's going to bother me. Give me just 1 second. Stranger Things season 4 cast. Season 4 cast. I'm really sorry, everyone. Let's see. Come on, IMDb. Give me something here. But he was like my favorite new character. Actually, no, I take that back. He was like my second favorite new character.
I was gonna say you best not shame on Eddie.
Eddie was amazing, and it was so funny. Well, it's not really funny. It was so cool because you kind of saw him as like this super eccentric, crazy dude, especially and almost in a way a fuck up because it was established earlier in season 4 that he's gonna finally graduate. So it was established that he had to repeat the 12th grade several times.
Yeah.
And so I saw him as a fuck up, but no, he's like a genuinely like good person.
Yeah. And it's Argyle.
Argyle
As the guy you're thinking of.
Oh, wow. I was way off. I was way off.
Like the sweater.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, he was such a great addition to the show, and I wanted to see more of him going forward, and I think his relationship, though very brief, like I'm talking very brief, with Chrissy felt really like cute and genuine.
Fun fact. So they filmed spoiler alert, Chrissy's death before their interaction in the forest. And the Duffer Brothers said that if they would have known like those two actors would have such good chemistry, they probably would have kept Chrissy around longer.
Yeah.
Like such good acting from both of them.
I kind of wonder if it would have been, though tragic, good for them to have Eddie develop this relationship with Chrissy over time. And then eventually her tragic death kind of sort of like snaps him a little bit.
Yeah.
And it would also give I don't remember the character's name, but the Chrissy's boyfriend, her actual boyfriend,
Owen or something.
It would have given him an actual reason if he saw Chrissy with this guy for him to be hunting for her and so avid against chasing him down, other than just religious reasons.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I completely lost what I was going to say, but I'm just going to say that I completely agree with you. Eddie's death made me the saddest.
Yes.
Especially since they were throwing some curveballs. For a long time, people were going to speculate that Steve.
Yeah, people speculated that
Steve was going to die. Especially because, like, if you think about it, he has no family. We know nothing about his family. I don't even remember seeing his parents in the earlier seasons.
Gosh, I can't remember.
So it would make sense if he were to pass or die because he doesn't really have those connections other than with like Dustin and the kids. And there's a scene in season 4 where Eddie and Dustin are like super close. They're super close, and it almost seemed like they were passing the torch from Steve to Eddie, and then they throw this curveball and kill off Eddie.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I had one little gripe about it, And Lily and I were talking about this on our walk last night. Owen, or the basketball player's death, was very anticlimactic.
Yeah. He just kind of sort of dies offhandedly, like during the
splitting of the town.
Yeah, when it starts.
The literal splitting of the town.
Yeah.
Like cracks physically splitting. Because they built his descent into craziness through the entire season.
He was basically a secondary villain the whole time.
He was.
Well, a third villain?
Yeah.
I mean, because you got like
the Russians and
fourth, I guess. You have the Russians, you have the U.S. government, you have the Vecna, and then you have these bullies, basically.
Yeah. And I think it would have been better if he was like shot or killed in a more like satisfying way, because when he ran into Nancy, in like the surplus store, that was a very intense scene.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's really the only gripe I have. I would. This season was so good.
The last 2 episodes, I swear, especially the last episode, like I was like on pins and needles, man. Like I when they had all of the separate conflicts simultaneously happening at once, like all of the climaxes for all the separate story arcs were happening at once, and they were all kind of dependent on each other, you know, like, oh, if Hopper and his group of people end up killing the Demodogs and the Demogorgon at the Russian facility, it might weaken Vecna enough for the other characters to escape, and the other characters are being like, you know, trapped and attacked, and they're tied up, and then you have 11 who's like tied up as well and can't do anything, and then you also have Max who is about to die, and at the same time the bully is there, and he's beating up gosh, what's his name? Lucas. Yeah, he's beating up Lucas. I'm so bad with the character names.
And then you got Steve, Nancy, and Robin, and Eddie, who are in the not Eddie. Oh yeah, Eddie and Dustin, who are in the Upside Down, trying to find Vecna.
Yeah.
So all of them were like hand in hand, and I thought like each scene transitioned fairly well.
Yeah.
So
it's such a it was so stressful, but like I immediately wanted more.
Yeah. So
my theory, Max. So at the end of it, obviously Max is like basically like a coma, right? I think Max is going to stay into the coma until Vecna is defeated, and then she's going to wake up, because I think, I'm not certain, but based off her interactions with 11, or lack thereof, you know, when 11 comes in, touches her, but can't find her anywhere, I think that somehow Max is now tied to Vecna. And so defeating him would release her to come back.
Kind of like defeating the Mind Flayer released Will.
Exactly.
So, okay.
That's my theory.
Interesting. Okay. So, that'll do for with the stuff that we watched. So, we have one more thing before we get into our game. All right, our game tonight is going to be Dust and Elysian Tail. But before we get into it, Connor, keep this brief.
What is going to be?
Let's get physical.
We just have one game.
Okay.
So it's going to be very brief.
Okay.
It's kind of been a short month for releases, I guess, or a small month for releases. But so we have Live Alive, which is $50. It's a Switch exclusive, and it's a wide release. And it says, the RPG game Live Alive makes its worldwide debut in HD 2D on Nintendo Switch. Previously unreleased outside of Japan, the RPG game is releasing on the Nintendo Switch in the HD 2D style. I don't know why I repeated that. 7 different stories featuring different protagonists, time periods, and gameplay styles await. In the Wild West, a wanderer with a bounty on his head fights for his life. In the twilight of Edo, Japan, a shinobi undertakes a secret mission. Experience these tales in the order you choose. The adventure is yours to control. What other stories will you uncover on the horizon? So it's basically I don't know how to even describe it, like an RPG where you play as completely different characters in completely different time periods, and you I don't know how they all tie together, but it just seemed like really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I always kind of like the 2D HD thing they have going on now, like with my brain, it's not picking it up.
It's all good.
There's like 2 other games out right now that have that style. They're on Switch as well. My brain doesn't work. But that one releases on the fudge. See, I'm obviously off my game here, but let me grab it real quick.
Feels good to be on the other side.
Yeah, I know. It's my bad. July 22nd. That's what I thought it was, but my brain stopped working.
Okay.
Yeah, July 22nd.
All right. Finally, moving on to our game. Man, it's been a long pleasantries, but that's okay.
You're the most pleasant, though.
Aw, bitch. So, Dust and Elysian Tail is a game developed by Humble Hearts, released in 2012, originally on the Xbox Live Arcade, and then released in 2013 on PC, 2015 on PlayStation, and then 2018 on Switch. A lot of release dates here. You can generally beat this in 10 hours, and as I stated before, you can get this for Xbox, PC, PlayStation, and Switch. Elysian Tail is where you is set in a world of Falana. Protagonist Dust journeys to liberate an oppressed village and rediscover his past. He is aided by an ancient sword, Ara, and a sidekick, Fidget. So, this is a 2D side-scroller hack and slash. You basically kill monsters and just go on an adventure.
Yeah.
Your sidekick, Fidget, which is almost like a flying fox-like creature.
She's a Nimbat.
A Ninbat, thank you. She has abilities that you can use to kind of give yourself additional power. There is an ability tied to the X button to where you spin your sword quickly, and that can almost works as like a cyclone effect to where it can suck things up and also shoot them forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of your area of attack that you can use alongside with Fidget's abilities. So, I thought this game was, from what I played, was really, really good. It is beautifully animated. Absolutely beautiful. All the advertisement says that all this was hand-painted.
Okay, I can believe that.
All the sprites were hand-painted and then obviously put into voice-acted and animation. The combat feels so good. It's so much fun killing these monsters, and it's a lot deeper than I thought.
Oh, yeah, and especially as you unlock more abilities for Fidget, like, you can pull off some really cool stuff.
Yeah, there was a point in the game where I was just doing your typical slashing, and then I noticed Dust doing a new move. He did a one-handed somersault twist, and it was like, how'd I do that? And so even it's like, and I couldn't find any combo menus or anything. So you have to figure it out all on your own.
What's your highest combo?
Probably 80 something.
Oh, baby boy.
I know.
My highest combo is 1081.
Jesus Christ, dude.
I got an achievement for getting over 1000.
Wow. Yeah, obviously I didn't get very far into this game, but that's I feel bad, but
it's a good game.
It is. It's a really good game, and I want to keep playing. I just don't have the time. But anyway, I thought the monsters were also really cool too. All of them just were very creative, and they actually can change how you play the game. Like, there are certain monsters that will completely cut off Fidget's abilities for a while.
Yeah, they'll silence her.
Mm-hmm. And there's poison that will not go away unless you have a healing potion or a healing mushroom.
There's fire too, and then the enemies change based on the region you're in as well. So you get different enemies, and you get to a certain point too near the end of the game where the enemies become armored, and so if you are trying to hit them with a regular attack or even your spin forward attack, you'll bounce off of them.
Interesting.
Which can be a pain in the ass to deal with. And then there's some enemies, I want to say it's in Chapter 4, that cannot be hit by physical attacks.
So they need to be hit by fidget abilities.
Correct.
It kind of reminds me of those floating explosive guys where they're only vulnerable when they start sucking in air.
The easiest way to handle those, run towards them and hit back dodge. They'll just explode each other.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I did. So it took me a little bit to understand the navigation here. I didn't notice it at first until I kind of started experimenting, but the minimap on the upper right corner is the green shows that's the room or the area that you're in, and there are these open spots that could be up, down, left, right, and that is so a direction you can go. And with it being a side scroller, I thought this was all pretty linear when it's really not. I guess I didn't really pick it up that quickly at first, as opposed to Fury Unleashed, which kind of gave you the map layout to start out with, which would translate that, okay, I can go anywhere on this page. Dust didn't have that. You just kind of have to kind of figure it out as you go.
Yeah, you can't see the outline of the map until you actually visit each area, and you can't actually... So you can traverse back and forth between the sections of the map normally. It puts up a barrier.
I don't know if you picked that up, but it sounds like our wives are downstairs and tormenting your dogs.
It sounds that way. Anyway, what I was going to say is, if you have not cleared out the enemies at least once in that area, it puts up a barrier. So the first time you go through a section, it seems like you have to clear out the enemies before you can progress on the next stage. So you can't just bolt through, dodging all the enemies, and then keep going through and run through the game.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. Also, I didn't quite understand how level up works. This is not something where if you level up, you get a skill point and you can allocate those skill points. They seem to be automatically allocated to a certain stat.
That's because it's a setting.
Oh, it's a what?
There's a setting in the options menu. You can have it set to automatically allocate, or you can select it yourself.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It must have been a difficulty thing, because I just played it on casual because I just wanted to experience the story.
Casual puts it by default, it allocates it.
Okay, interesting. Wow, I guess I should have digested what I read. It's seriously
I got really into this game.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know.
It's really funny too, because it's generally so hard for me to digest what I read, and I'm so glad this game had voice acting in it, because otherwise I would have had a much harder time.
Yeah, it's nice that it's fully voice acted like that.
And it's very well voice acted too.
Yeah, for the most part.
There's a couple weird script reads, but it's really few and far between.
The only thing I'd say, I just kind of thought of this, is you mentioned that you liked the art style. I think I liked it for the most part too. I think the character design seemed kind of amateurish, but that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're from someone who tried to replicate a Disney character style.
Yeah, maybe that was intentional.
Yeah, and it's not bad. It's just it does give kind of an amateur vibe to it.
Mm-hmm. But something that you brought. Okay, actually, before I bring that up, I did have a small issue with the Switch version. It took probably 4 times as long to read the game software before I started playing, because because whenever you like start a Switch game, there's a menu that says checking to see if the software can be played, and then you go into the game.
If you played on a light,
yeah. I never had this issue with any other game with it being this long, and I looked it up, and it says that if you're not playing on your primary console, it'll take a little bit longer. My OLED's not my primary console. I haven't gotten to the point of switching from my light to my OLED as my primary console, because every time I think about it, I forget about it. So, but it was really weird because I've never had that issue with any other game.
And it loads just fine. I put it on Steam Deck. It loads just fine.
After the game was loaded and ready to go, I didn't have any other issues with it. It's just I thought it was really weird, because I thought maybe it was because it was a digital game, but I played the Gardens Between digitally. I had never had that issue, so I don't know. Maybe it was just something weird with the game. Something that you brought up that bothered you is the last boss was multiple phases.
Yes.
And I completely agree with you of this being very bothersome. I generally have a rule, and I talked to you about this over text last night. I think 2 to 3 phases max is good for a boss fight.
Yeah. And the reason I think I had the most problem with it in this game is I played the game on normal difficulty, and I maybe throughout the entire course of the game died 2 or 3 times. Not very much. It's a difficult game, but it's not like unbearably difficult. And all the other boss fights were literally just one phase. So I get to the final boss, and he's tough. And I manage to defeat him, and then his health bar comes all the way back up. I get him about 3/4 of the way down on that one, and I get killed. I'm like, what the fuck? I try him one more time, get a little bit further, and then I see a 3rd health bar, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I get killed again. And at this point, like, I don't have enough currency in the game to buy enough health to keep fully healthed up, like, and so I was like, well, fuck it. And I just turned it down to casual for that last fight. And he still killed me, I think, like 3 times in there. And I finally defeated him. But there's no real reason for him to have 4 phases, because it didn't really seem to me that his fight style changed that much. He didn't physically change that much. Only thing that changed was the terrain, which is whatever,
But there's no reason to have a whole new health bar for a change in terrain.
Yeah.
It sounds like just an artificial difficulty spike, to where it's like, oh, this is the final boss. This needs to be challenging, so just up the difficulty.
Yeah.
Without any reason for it to be.
Yeah. And I don't know, it just seemed weird. And so I was like, I don't really care. I went into the menus, and it's like, oh, you might not get some achievements if you...
Who cares?
If you turn to casual. And I was like, I don't care. It's one level. I don't care. And I didn't want to like sit there and spend 2 or 3 hours grinding this level and trying to beat him, getting more and more frustrated. Because the flow of the story is good. Like, I just thought it brought the end of the game to like a wall.
Right.
And the thing is, like, I don't know why it was such a difficulty spike. As I said, I maybe died 2 or 3 times playing my entire playthrough, and then you get there and it's like, fuck you, kill you. So yeah, but
overall, like, from what I played though, I would give this game like an 8.
You can't give it that yet. You don't even know the story.
Just give me a chance, dog.
Do you want to know the story? I could say it right now.
Yes.
The story's very interesting.
Spoilers, go.
Okay. So the whole premise of the story is you wake up as this character. You don't know your name. You don't know your history. You're completely like a blank slate. And you encounter Fidget and then this sword. And this sword can talk, by the way. His name's Ara. And you go by the name of Dust, is what they just name you, because you came from dust or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
You find out through the game that you are two people combined into one.
Interesting.
You are Jin, who is Ginger's younger brother.
Okay.
And you are Cassius, who is one of the general's warriors.
Okay. Interesting.
And you combined together after you died fighting each other. And so the Moonbloods, which are like the reptilian sort of race, they formed you into this new being to bring like safety to them, what basically. So they knew that Cassius was like this strong warrior, but Jin had a pure heart, and so they combined the two, and so now you are Dust, the combination of the two. And you find this out in the last bit of the game, and you basically redeem yourself through all the actions of saving people throughout the story and earn the respect of the Moonbloods along the way, while finally meeting with the general and him confronting you and not believing that you are Dust. He still thinks that you are Cassius, and you end up dying at the end. But it kind of seems like maybe your soul is alive and Fidget goes looking for you. And that's how it ends.
Kind of opens up as a potential sequel.
Yeah. Even though I don't know if there's ever
It's
gonna
been
be
almost
one.
10 years since this game was first released.
Yeah, it's seeming unlikely, but
I'd be interested to see what other games, if the studio's even created more games.
yeah, I'd say like the further you get into the game, the more you unlock too. So I think there's some key things that maybe you didn't get to experience, which are kind of nice things. You get a slide move at a certain point where you can slide underneath things and you can slide into people.
I've noticed that I've noticed when I was navigating, there were some like low crevices that I couldn't fit through.
Yep. You get a double jump at a certain point.
Okay.
Which comes in handy quite a bit. And Fidget can learn like 3 different abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So you have her like normal blast that you get at the beginning of the game where you can just like pepper people
And
with
like a fire.
You get the fire pillars that come up, and then you get electricity. And the electricity one is the one I used all the time, because I would trigger the electricity, and then I would do the spin move, which lets you kind of aim the electricity where you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do is I'd find a crowd of enemies or even a large enemy, trigger the electricity, and then just spin back and forth through them, and you would just do maximum damage. And that's how I got that over 1,000 combo. I found a crowd, a huge crowd of enemies, and then just boom, 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 back and forth.
I gotta continue this game this weekend.
Dude, it is
I got
addicting.
I bet. Does the electricity like do extra damage to the armored enemies?
I don't know if it does anything extra, but I feel like it maybe does the most damage out of all of them, just because the fire is very specific. It only shoots up maybe 1 to 3 fire pillars. And so you're limited on your AoE. The first attack's pretty good, but it does very small amounts of damage in rapid succession, where the electricity is just like a constant until it goes away.
Okay.
And you can kind of launch yourself with the spin move while you're doing the electricity. So if there's some enemies that you've knocked into the air, you do the spin move, and you can like fly up them into the air, knocking them further up in the air, and then you can do a down slash move, which is like your strongest move, and like come down and just hit them all hard. And so like there's some really cool like combos you can come up with that like I really hope you get to experience, because like those are some of my favorite moments in the game.
Yeah.
And like that electricity and spin move combo I was talking about, that's like the best way to take out the ghost characters that can't be hit by physical attacks.
Interesting.
Is just like zap them and then go back and forth. And there's some really interesting and tough bosses near the end as well. You have to fight a giant ghost monster at these mansions. You have to fight these giant, you've probably seen some giant characters before.
Yeah.
Right? There are giant armored characters too, which will at one hit took like 3/4 of my health from those.
Jeez.
So they're tough. And at the very final battle, you actually get some of the Moonbloods to fight with you.
Cool.
Against the armored people. So you get like a squad of people that come with you as you fight through the army.
Nice.
So yeah, all those things for me make this game like an easy 9.
Awesome. And which means I have got to play this game, especially this weekend, since I will be I'll be out of town. So I'll be at my parents' lake house and give me time
Take your
to
Switch with you, man.
See, that's what makes the Switch so good. So,
Or the Steam Deck. I took my Steam Deck with
well,
me
I don't have a
here.
Steam Deck. I don't have the
I don't know
money
what
for a
you
Steam Deck
want
right
me
now.
to say, man.
But yeah, that'll think I'll just about do it for us. We next week's games is going to be Caller Juarez, Gunslinger, and we're doing something a little bit different with our next game, Little Nightmares. Connor and I are going to experience this at the same time. So he's going to play it, or I'm going to play it, and we're going to be like next to each other, experiencing the game at the same time. And so it's kind of a Game Grump style a little bit. I don't know if we're going to record our experience with it and cut in. That's something I'm going to have to see if it's possible behind the scenes. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
See ya.